Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. We should be concerned about these alien visitors or whoever they are, wherever they're from, because they have taken a great interest in our nuclear missiles over the decades. They're very concerned about it. It seems that seems to be a primary focus of these visitors. As we all know now, everyone out there should know for a fact that there is something here based on the evidence that has now emerged out of the Las Vegas alien footage, as we've been talking about a lot on this podcast. There's no doubt about it now, no doubt about it. But anyway, I want to talk about the relationship today between these visitors or whoever they are and our nuclear capabilities. Today I saw on Twitter, actually it was a tweet from yesterday from Lou Elizondo. He actually posted this. He says, as I specifically highlighted in my resignation memo to the Secretary of Defense in 2017, the relationship between nukes and UAP should be a primary concern for every person, especially organizations like Arrow, who keep telling Congress that there is no national security issue. Yeah, that's a great statement, especially now that we have the end-all proof. I wonder if Arrow saw that. I did put a link to it on their Twitter page recently. I don't know, under one of their Twitter posts, I did put a link on it on there. I thought maybe they should readjust their position on this whole matter now that within the public domain there is the end-all, absolute, no doubt about it evidence out of Las Vegas, as we all know now, right? Because there is something here, no doubt about it. I mean, what's the government doing about it? I guess that's a great question. What does Arrow know about it? Do they know nothing? Are they going to tell us they know nothing about these creatures when we know that they're here? Are they that stupid? I really hope not. But anyway, Lou Elizondo actually had a link to an article here by Marek von Rennenkampf. He's an opinion contributor to The Hill, and Marek always has some good stuff, and he was talking about the shocking history of UFOs and nuclear weapons. I just want to go through this article a little bit. It says here, UFOs are no laughing matter on Capitol Hill. Beyond alleging the existence of surreptitious government programs to retrieve and reverse engineer exotic craft of non-human origin, Congress mandated that the Department of Defense document and report any UFO incidents associated with military nuclear assets, including strategic nuclear weapons and nuclear-powered ships. Lawmakers are right to focus on the nexus between UFOs and nuclear technology. Many of the best known and most credible unexplained sightings occurred in alarming proximity to our most sensitive nuclear assets and facilities. I mean, yeah, let's just stop there for a second. For instance, Roswell. I mean, that was right there in New Mexico where we initially were detonating these atomic bombs when we were testing them out back in '45. Of course, a lot of sightings. Actually, most sightings were in New Mexico back then. Anyway, continuing with this article, it says in 2004 and 2015, for example, U.S. Navy fighter jets flying off nuclear-powered aircraft carriers recorded the 3 UFO videos that catalyzed significant public and congressional interest in the phenomena. But interactions between UFOs and ultra-sensitive United States nuclear assets date back nearly 8 decades. New Mexico, ground zero for America's nuclear weapons development programs, is the site of a remarkable number of baffling, unsolved UFO incidents. In late 1948, for example, dozens of pilots, defense personnel, and scientists associated with the famed Los Alamos and Sandia nuclear weapons programs began seeing mysterious green fireballs in the sky. Such objects were frequently observed flying on a perfectly horizontal trajectory, often moving directly toward nearby aircraft. In 1949, 2 major Los Alamos conferences on the incidents, which drew the likes of famed nuclear weapons physicist Edward Teller, failed to identify the source of the phenomena. Well, I think it's pretty much, let's stop there for a second. I think it's pretty much safe to say that these were, most likely beings from another world or interdimensional, whatever you want to call them, non-human intelligence. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's these beings that are here, that we know are here now for a fact. I mean, everyone should know that they're here for a fact because we have the end-all evidence, right? That's what it was, most likely, right? See, this is how the conversation needs to be anymore from here on out, because there are beings here. They're up to something. We don't know what, but they're here. Maybe it's friendly, maybe it's not friendly. I don't know. What does the government know? What does Arrow know? Inquiring minds would want to know for sure. Anyway, continuing with this article, it says here, Lincoln LaPaz, then one of the world's leading authorities on meteorites, observed the fireballs personally and, in partnership with the Air Force, conducted a thorough study of the mysterious phenomena. As Time and Life magazines reported contemporaneously, LaPaz blasted the notion that the objects were meteorites, bolides, or other naturally occurring phenomena. The bizarre incidents, along with their apparent connection to nuclear weapons research, remain unexplained. Well, really, are they unexplained? I think it's pretty safe to assume that these are these beings from another world or wherever they're from, that are checking this stuff out. That's what it is, right? Obviously, I mean, I think it's safe to say that we know that they're here. We know that for a fact, right? So we have the scientific evidence that proves that there's something here, right? So that's what it is. That's who's been checking this out. That was back in the late 1940s. Obviously, that couldn't have been China or Russia. They don't have that kind of technology. Green fireballs that float around, controlled. Come on, let's not be stupid here. Anyway, continuing. Nearly a decade after the first green fireball sightings, an extraordinary UFO incident was reported at Kirtland Air Force Base, a key nuclear weapons testing and storage facility in New Mexico. On November 4th, 1957, two control tower operators with more than 20 years of combined experience said they watched from a remarkably close range as an elongated, wingless, and engineless object descended slowly over the runway and hovered over the base's nuclear weapons storage area. The craft then shot off at a remarkable speed. Radar confirmed the presence of the unknown object, which was ultimately lost from scopes as it shadowed a departing cargo plane at an uncomfortably close distance of half a mile. Now, I know, let me just stop there for a second. I know a lot of dumbbell debunkers out there might try to tell you that this was some balloon or something, or maybe some atmospheric phenomena, but we all know better. We all have a pretty good idea that it wasn't, that it was obviously these beings checking us out, right? That's what we all know that now. We're all not dummies now, especially now that we have in our back pocket the absolute end-all evidence, right? It's a whole different world we're living in these days. Anyway, the article continues there. It says, a few years later, on April 24th, 1964, Socorro, New Mexico, police officer Lonnie Zamora reported observing a similarly strange, elongated UFO, this time on the ground. Upon seeing Zamora's approaching cruiser, he said, two small human-looking beings beside the UFO entered the craft, which then rapidly departed. Amid a national media frenzy, authorities mounted a sweeping investigation of the incident. Army and Air Force officers, FBI agents, and meteorite expert LaPaz all vouched for Zamora's credibility and reliability. Moreover, a passing motorist corroborated his account, stating that he had briefly observed the craft along with Zamora's vehicle. A fellow Socorro police officer, arriving moments after the UFO would have departed, discovered a visibly shaken Zamora as well as smoldering vegetation where the craft would have been standing. Yes, obviously Zamora saw some craft that was not manufactured by mankind. Obviously, that's what it was. And obviously the beings that he saw traipsing around it, right, they weren't human beings. The footprints were like, 2 inches across. Obviously they were short grays probably or something, or who knows, but they weren't human beings. They weren't little kids operating some kind of egg-shaped craft that could fly around without making any sound, right? Obviously it was beings from another world. And as Rennenkamp points out here, importantly, this extraordinary encounter took place in the vicinity of the Trinity site, where the first nuclear weapon was detonated in July 1945. Yeah, obviously it makes sense to have alien beings showing up in this area, right? Obviously, they're probably doing tests to see what kind of damage we had done in this area by that point. That's probably what it was, right? It all makes sense now. Everything's making sense these days, isn't it? It goes on here, it says, while credible observers reported countless other confounding UFO incidents in the vicinity of key New Mexico nuclear facilities, the UFO connection to nukes is not limited to the American Southwest. One of the most perplexing reported UFO incidents, involving a multitude of simultaneous radar and visual observations, occurred in the skies over two of the largest nuclear weapons storage facilities outside the United States. During the Cold War, the British air bases RAF, Lakenheath, and Bentwaters hosted U.S. forces and nuclear weapons. Over several hours on the night of August 13, 1956, radar stations at Lakenheath and Bentwaters tracked multiple unidentified objects conducting extraordinary maneuvers, often at astounding speeds in the skies above these two key nuclear-equipped bases. Yeah, let's stop there again. Of course, obviously, what do you think these things were? Do you think they were some sort of a secret Soviet craft flying around? No, obviously it wasn't. Obviously, nobody had that kind of technology that back then to do anything like this, what's being reported here. Obviously, it's alien to us. It's non-human intelligence. It's extraterrestrial, whatever you want to say. I believe personally it's extraterrestrial. Anyway, continuing here, it says the bizarre radar tracks were corroborated visually by witnesses on the ground and via radar, and visually by pilots in at least 2 aircraft. Perhaps most remarkably and disturbingly, radar operators watched in shock as the mysterious object outmaneuvered and subsequently chased the first of 2 British fighter jets scrambled to intercept it. Yeah, now come on. That's obviously not. That's obviously some sort of technology that's beyond our understanding. Of course it is, right? Let's not be stupid about this. 24 years later, it happened again in a series of startling incidents in December 1980. The deputy base commander of RAF Bentwaters and several Air Force personnel reported observing mysterious objects at close range in a forested area just south of the base. According to the deputy commander, the UFOs were also observed via radar. Yeah, of course, this is the famous Bentwaters case from 1980. Obviously, those guys out there were Charles Halton and the gang were encountering some sort of extraterrestrial craft. That's what it was, right? Let's not be stupid about this. In an affidavit, the commander, who initially intended to debunk UFO rumors swirling around the base, stated that at least one of the mysterious objects projected beams of light around the nuclear weapons storage area at RAF Bentwaters. Audio recorded during the incident seems to corroborate such observations. According to the commander, other UFOs moved in sharp angular patterns as though they were doing a grid search. In 1979, just 1 year before the events in eastern England, the New York Times and Washington Post reported on a series of alarming incidents at key nuclear weapons facilities in the United States. The Post, citing then recently released Department of Defense documents, reported that a string of the nation's super-sensitive nuclear missile launch sites and bomber bases were visited by unidentified, low-flying, and elusive objects in the fall of 1975. The incidents involved unknown entities and brightly lighted, fast-moving vehicles that hovered over nuclear weapons storage areas and evaded all pursuit efforts. So you're going to tell me that back in 1975, that our fastest jets that we had back then were unable to catch up to these objects, and they maybe they're from some foreign country. You're going to tell me that? I don't believe you one bit. Numerous daily updates, the Times reported, kept the Joint Chiefs of Staff informed of these incursions. The unnerving events have notable parallels to allegations by former Air Force missile officers that UFOs had rendered nuclear weapons inoperable at Minot Air Force Base in 1966 and Malmstrom Air Force Base in 1967. And the article goes on to talk about those cases. I'm not going to read the rest of it. I'll leave the link so you can check the entire thing out for yourself. But as we know, yes, UFOs showed up at those bases and shut down the nuclear missiles. And there was nothing anybody could do about it. That's what happened there, basically. And so I bring this up because, now that we know for a fact that there's alien beings here, now that the whole world should know, I've known it for a long time, as a lot of people in the UFO community knew it, but now that we have the absolute end-all proof, the government continues to lie about this. They haven't told us the truth about this yet, and I don't expect them to anytime soon either. I expect them to continue lying. But we do know the truth now. That's the fact of the matter. And I think we need to be concerned about what's been going on here for all these decades. You think about, for instance, the Ariel School incident back in 1994. Over 60 little kids, elementary school kids, during a little break, flying saucer in the morning, 10:30 in the morning, right? A flying saucer lands near the school. All the teachers are inside at a conference. All these little kids are outside playing around. And next thing you know, a flying saucer lands, and these kids see 2 alien beings. And one of those alien beings begins to communicate telepathically with a handful of those kids. And they put images in their heads that was explaining to them that technology is going to lead to destruction. They were seeing scenes of destruction. Is this what they're talking about? Are they warning us about this? There's a lot of potential reasons why these extraterrestrials, or whatever they are, would be concerned about our nuclear powers and our technology. For one thing, maybe they're concerned for our welfare. That could be the case. Basically, they're concerned about the way we're heading. Look at the way we are right now. We have all these wars going on all over the place, people getting killed all the time in these stupid wars. We must look like wild animals to these creatures. Now, especially, really, I mean, these leaders of these countries that are responsible for these deaths in these wars, right? They really need to take a hard look at what's going on here at the bigger picture. What we're being observed right now by something. There's something obviously is here. We have the evidence now. It's guaranteed. Right, it's guaranteed 100% evidence now that there's extraterrestrial or whatever non-human intelligence among us that's more advanced than we are technologically. There's no doubt about it. So that you have to understand, if they're here and they're seeing us, we must look like wild animals just killing each other. It must look awful. That must be a big giant red flag to these beings. I mean, if we keep advancing technologically, maybe we're going to go to their planet someday and start doing the same thing to them. I mean, that's what they might be thinking. There's a lot of reasons to end all of this chaos going on in the world right now. There are lots of reasons. Because especially now that we know for a fact that there's something here, no doubt about it, 100% guaranteed. So it could be that they give these messages out to send these telepathic messages because they're trying to warn us about where we're heading, the destruction that we're going to end up causing by our stupidity. That could be what's as simple as that. They're just trying to do the good neighbor thing here. That might be what it is. Or maybe it's that they're concerned what we're going to do to the planet because they plan on booting us off here at some point, or maybe that's what they're in the process of doing and they're just not complete it yet. There's all kinds of different things going on here. We could use their imaginations. You gotta actually, that's one thing. I'll tell you what. You have to have a good imagination when it comes to the UFO subject. You have to, because you have to start really thinking outside of the box on what might be going on here. But I just want to point out, I think it's very important that we recognize that these beings are very interested in our nuclear capabilities and what we can do, and they're obviously concerned about it. And it could be for, like I said, they're just concerned for our welfare, or it could be they're concerned about this planet because they look at this as their planet and we're destroying it, and maybe they're going to retaliate at some point. I mean, what's going on here? Why are they landing in people's backyards in Las Vegas? Why are they coming down like that? What's going on? We don't really know the answers to these questions. Is the government aware of this, I wonder? They have to be, right? I mean, we just learned recently that the government was investigating that Las Vegas case. I wonder what they determined. I wonder if they came to the same determination as the experts Scott Roeder and Louis Castillo, who examined that video. I wonder if they came to the same conclusions that those guys did. I wonder if the government experts who are part of the secrecy group, I wonder if they looked at that video and they saw the same things that those guys saw. I wonder if they came to the same conclusions. I bet they did. If they didn't, they did not by now, right? If they didn't before, they did by now. But anyway, yeah, there seems like there's been lots of concerns out there among these beings about what we're doing here with these nuclear weapons, obviously turning them off. Actually, there was an incident in the USSR where apparently they turned the missiles on, prepared them for launch. I mean, we could have had World War III. Maybe they're trying to give us a warning. You better knock it off with these nuclear weapons. I mean, really, what good are they? I mean, if we have a nuclear war, World War III with nuclear weapons, I mean, this whole thing is done. It's all done. Anyway, moving on. I want to go check out the recent Spotify polls for the last few episodes. For the episode... we're going to go back. Actually, we did this one already, but I'm going to do it again. For the episode, Vegas Alien Case Satisfies Sagan's Extraordinary Evidence Requirement, I asked this question. When the evidence established in the Vegas Alien Case surfaces into the spotlight, will the control group finally talk to the public? 72 votes so far. 10 people, or 13.9%, say yes, while 62 people, or 86.1%, say no. I'm gonna go with the majority here. I don't think they're gonna talk about this when they already realize. I'm sure that some of them already know. They know about this. They know what's been going on with this. They're watching it. Don't worry. Never you worry. They know about this. I hope they do. Obviously, actually, when you really think about this, the Vegas case, now that everyone sees this, right, sees the evidence, you have to know now, right, that there has been a cover-up. There's no question about it, right? Obviously now. I mean, everyone should concede this at this point. There has to be, right? They have to be looking at this privately, obviously, right? They have to be. I mean, how inept would our governments be if they were not? Just think about that for a minute. I mean, you saw what their beings are capable of, the cloaking technology and all that. I mean, how inept would the government be to not be looking into this secretly and keeping it a secret? How inept would they be? They're obviously a cover-up. It's obvious now. It's obvious. It's clear. It's very clear to all of us now. Okay, for the episode, interview with Julia June, who helped bust the Vegas alien case wide open, I asked this question. Is it worth the time and energy to send Arrow Scott Roeder's evidence that proves the reality of the Las Vegas alien? 62 votes so far. 34 people, or 54.8%, say no, while 28 people, or 45.2%, say yes. Unfortunately, I got to say, go with the majority here again. Yes, no, it's not worth it, because for one thing, they don't even accept anything from the public at this time. And what are they going to do with it if you do send something into them? Again, I did alert them on their Twitter feed about this. I sent them something. I hope that they checked it out. I'm sure that they know everything about what's going on in Las Vegas, particularly not Arrow per se, but actually the secrecy group, the secret control group. They're aware of that. You know, they've been looking into that. I mean, Homeland Security put up cameras and everything. They're not talking about it, though. They're not going to tell you anything about it. Don't even bother to ask. It's pointless. Hey, but the one thing that could happen here is one thing I'm hoping for, right? I'm hoping that some people step forward, some experts, PhDs or higher, experts in video analysis. I hope that they take on Scott Roeder's challenge here and see if they could come up with something different than he came up with. They're not going to be able to, as far as I'm concerned. It's just not going to happen. And everybody out there in that world knows that. And I'm sure of this too. I'm sure some of them have already done so, right? And they came to the same conclusions. Anyway, continuing here. For the episode Cosmic Roads, Jack Connor talks about the Nazca alien mummies. I asked this question. The preserved alien remains discovered in Peru came from some place. What is that place? Okay, there's 53 votes so far. 2 people, or 3.8%, say the future. So yes, as that has been put forward by one scientist, at least, who believes that these beings actually haven't even been born yet. They're visitors from the future who got killed somewhere in the past or died somewhere in the past, and now we're checking out their mummies. But in reality, they never were born yet. Okay, another 2 people, or 3.8%, say another dimension. Okay, some people believe that these beings could be interdimensional. I'm not sure if I'm with that, but hey, I could be proven wrong. 7 people, or 13.2%, say other. Okay, other. And then 17 people, or 32.1%, say another planet. And then 25 people, or 47.2%, say Earth. So the majority says Earth, and then right behind that is another planet. You know, here's the thing. You know, how are we ever going to know one way or the other? Like these beings, it's obviously there's multiple scientists now saying that these beings that were discovered, these remains that were discovered in Peru near in Nazca, that they're not human, but they're humanoid, but they're not human. The DNA is unlike anything they've ever seen before. So they're going to be able to prove this. Obviously, they are proving it, right? There's other people checking this out right now. So, but what are they going to be able to say where they came from? I guess that's the whole issue. We're probably never going to know. I don't think we are. Maybe, unless there's some more evidence that turns up at some point in the future. Maybe a spaceship will be found somewhere. But I don't know if we'll ever be able to say for sure. And probably won't. And the same thing could be said about the Vegas aliens. I mean, we can't say definitively that they came from another planet, from outer space. We don't know where they came from. They could be from here. They could be from another dimension. Who knows? See, that's why I believe that the government and Arrow, they like to play games with words. They say that there's no proof of extraterrestrials throughout that recent Arrow historical report. Extraterrestrials. They weren't saying non-human intelligence in there. Just keep that in mind. Because they probably could get away with saying that because you probably can't prove that they came from another planet, even though that's where they probably came from. That's just my belief. Doesn't make me right. Okay, moving on. For the episode, efforts to push Scott Roeder's Vegas alien evidence into the spotlight underway. I asked this question. Will Scott Roeder's scientific analysis of the Las Vegas alien case soon be recognized internationally? 47 votes so far. 25 people or 53.2% say no, while 22 people or 46.8% say yes. Um, yeah, I don't know which one I agree with here because it's going to be difficult. I mean, I was actually in a little back and forth with the debunker minion on Twitter today, and I don't know. I mean, I just don't know if it's going to be recognized internationally. I mean, the mainstream does not, they don't take their marching orders from the peasantry here, right? That's just not, they don't do that. I mean, they take their marching orders from the Pentagon and things like that, the establishment. You know, they made a big deal out of that Garrett Graff book because it, you know, it was telling us that there's nothing to this, that it's all just stuff from here that was made by other countries and balloons and nonsense, right? And that everyone in Roswell was stupid, right? The Garrett Graff idiot book for idiots. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we're gonna get from them. So I don't know. I mean, they're gonna have to be the only way that they're gonna do it. The only way that this story, the Vegas story, becomes big is if somehow the mainstream becomes forced to talk about it. Forced to talk about it. That's the only way it's gonna. Right. And another thing, this might be if you think about this, it could be a very inconvenient time for the political factions in the United States. I mean, think about it, where there's an election going right now, so you have that to worry about. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get anything. I just don't know about that. I don't think anything's going to happen. Probably within the next 6 to 8 months. It might take some time. I don't know. I could be wrong. I hope I am. I do continue to reach out to different people and let people let other people know about this. I haven't received many responses about it. Although I did receive a response today from Stan Gordon. Of course, Stan Gordon has been researching this stuff since the 1960s, and I did send him that news essay, and he responded back to me, so he has it, and so maybe he'll publish that in his newsletter. But as far as getting out to the mainstream, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that all goes down. I still would like to interview the Kenmore family. I have not heard back from Sherman, the YouTuber. I sent him a very long email explaining everything. The evidence has been compiled. I've received nothing back to this point. You know, again, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You could try, but and I'll keep trying. This is not over yet. This is definitely, I can assure you, not over yet. This news is gonna get out at some point, one way or another. I guarantee that. I can guarantee you that. And I'm gonna guarantee another thing too. I do not foresee anyone ever being able to successfully refute this. No one's gonna be able to successfully debunk this story. Right, and in fact, any expert that looks at this, right, they're going to come to the same determinations as Scott Roeder and his assistant Louis Castillo arrived at. That's what's going to happen. There's no way this is ever going to be disproven. It can't be. It's the end-all evidence that we waited for. And it's time to start thinking about it. And it's time for the government out there, if you're hearing this, right, it's time to really, now everyone's starting to see this, maybe you need to come up with a new game plan. It's time to maybe start, thinking, rethinking this, right? Unless this was all part of your game plan in the first place. I don't know. Maybe this is the way you want it to come out. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me. Until next time.